Please be seated. The court is back in session. Before giving the floors to the prosecutions to continue his questions to this witness, the chamber would like to inform the prosecution that after considering the importance of questioning this witness to ascertain the truth, the chamber has decided by the majority that the prosecution will have another morning tomorrow for questioning this witness, and the afternoon session will be devoted to the lead co-lawyers. The chamber will consider and inform the defense teams tomorrow as to how much time they will have for questioning this witness. Now the floor is handed over to the prosecution to continue questioning this witness.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Il me semble qu'avant...
Thank you, Mr. President. It appears that before the break, a question was asked by counsel for Nguyen Chia regarding the different French and English interpretations of the witness's answer in document D 233/2. We cross-checked it and found that the Khmer version agrees with the French version and not with the English version, because the English version states that he was not aware, whereas the Khmer and French versions say that he was aware. It appears that there may be a problem in the question as far as the three languages are concerned, because the question was that the reason for Kit Thuon's and In Prasit's arrest, and the witness said they were not arrested. And it is obvious in the next question when the witness says it was due to the fact that Mr. Ieng Sari was an influential person, and that was why those persons were not arrested. I wanted to flag such ambiguity. I don't know whether this addresses your question, Mr. President.
The President, the prosecutors, you may proceed with your questions.
Si je me souviens bien, avant la pause...
Question, if I remember correctly, before the break, the witness was not able to answer the question. That is, whether it meant that they were implicated in many documents. The chamber did not rule on this matter. I asked whether it meant that the person was accused. May I turn to you, Mr. President, because Mr. Canavas had objected. Correction, the interpreter meant to say Kit Thuon as opposed to Koi Thuon.
The President, you are permitted to put that question to witness.
Donc, Monsieur le témoin, que cela signifie-t-il?
Witness, what did being implicated in several documents mean? Did it mean being accused by other persons?
This phrase means we heard that that particular person or persons were accused or implicated, but we only heard, we did not know who exactly implicated those people.
Lorsqu'au ministère des Affaires étrangères,
Question.
des personnes étaient mises en cause,
While you were at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, persons were implicated, namely Kit Chun and Chun Prasit. What were the consequences of such implication or such accusations?
As I have said, he and I and others were afraid.
et concernant les personnes
Question. And regarding persons who were implicated or accused,
fournir des informations
did those persons have to furnish any information or to justify their position in relation to such implications?
There was no response. They remained working.
Est-ce que ces personnes auraient dû rédiger des documents
Question. Did such persons have to write any documents regarding such implication?
I did not know about that.
Avant de passer à un autre sujet,
Question. Before we go into another line of questioning, I would like us to revisit the Khoi Thuon affair, which related to us with regard to the consequences at Sench Samres. You said that investigations did not have to be carried because the persons concerned were peasants and they were not close to Khoi Thuon. Let me read out the answer you gave the co-investigating judges in this regard in document D369/36. And there are three answers that concern you in particular, answers 107, 108, and 110. Mr. President, am I allowed to place this document on the screen and to show it to the witness? Thank you.
The President, you are permitted. Court officer is instructed to coordinate with this issue. That is to bring the documents to witness.
Voilà, merci. Alors,
Very well, thank you. Now, question 107 was as follows, and I quote, did you ever attend a meeting at B1 on an external allegation that someone at Shrang Shamreh had an affiliation to the enemy? Answer, yes, I did. I attended B1 meetings and used to call people at Shrang Shamreh to the meetings. Question, that is question 108. Can you give us a practical example of such an event, if there is any? Answer 108. For example, Koi Tuan was accused. To that effect, his subordinates had to be questioned and arrested to see what Koi Tuan had ordered them to do, or to know what they knew about Koi Tuan's activities. And lastly, question 110. During the meeting when the alleged document was reviewed, was Mr. Ieng Sari present? Answer, no, not at all. He did not attend that meeting. I was a person who reported it to him. In the report to him, I indicated that those people were ignorant. They only followed their leader. Now, may I know whether you confirm what you stated? Because a while ago, I thought I heard that there were no investigations, whereas here in the answer you've given earlier on, it is clearly stated that Koi Tuan's subordinates were arrested and questioned. What do you say to that?
Allow me to answer this question as follows. The word meeting does not mean an investigation. It was not an investigation. During the meeting, there were study documents, and after the study sessions, comrades were told to consider the issues and not to worry about the issues, and to tell the truth and to be honest. And if there were no any issues, they were supposed to continue their works as usual. So there was no investigation. It was about study.
merci.
Thank you. You talked about a session for the study of documents. What documents did you study at meetings at Shrang Shamreh?
There were many documents, but the documents that I have talked about, that I have been describing, concern the documents about the 12 morals. First one is to love the country enthusiastically. Another term in that document is that we should not steal even a piece of chili.
Mais vous avez...
Question. You also said that you reported to Ieng Sari that all those persons were ignorant. Was a question put to you as to whether you knew anything about Koi Tuan, his arrest, and the accusations leveled against him?
I do not understand the question.
លោកតំណាងថាប្រញ្ញា
The President. Could the prosecutor ask the question again? Because the witness does not understand the question.
Vous avez évoqué seulement...
Question. You referred only to a study of the 12 moral principles, and at the same time you said in answer 110 that you reported to Ingsari that all those persons at Shrang Chamre knew nothing, and that all they did was to execute orders by the cadres. My question, therefore, is that for you to say that those persons knew nothing, were questions put to you as to whether those persons had any relations with Khoi Thuon?
វិធី
The study methods have been described to me that each individual was supposed to self-criticize. Each individual was supposed to tell whether they were connected to Khoi Thuon or not, whether they had done anything damaging to their place. So after the collective consideration, they would decide whether those people were wrong or not. And this is what I reported to Ingsari, that those people did not do anything wrong.
Est-ce qu'on appelle ce type de réunion?
Question. Are such meetings referred to as biography meetings?
កិច្ចប្រជុំវាមានច្រើន
There were many meetings. For example, the meeting that I have talked about is the meetings that help everyone not to be afraid that their superior was arrested.
យើងអាច
We could call that meeting as a revolutionary self-criticism. But this kind of meeting may mean much more than what I have just said, because the meeting I have just described concern only with helping those people not to be afraid.
Je vais maintenant en venir à certaines de ces réunions.
Question. I will now talk about
De sécurité et
I will now talk about some of the meetings dealing with security, or meetings in which enemies from within were discussed. I referred to this yesterday. When there were meetings concerning internal security at the ministry, were any reports prepared? Meetings concerning enemies from within and meetings concerning internal security at the ministry, I mean.
ផ្នែកខាងខ្ញុំ
Response. As for my side, there was no minutes of the meetings because not many people could write.
Et alors de l'autre côté du
Question. And on the other hand, you said that there were meetings chaired by Ieng Seri. Were any written reports prepared at such meetings?
ខ្ញុំនិយាយផ្នែកខាងបញ្ញាជន
Response. Regarding the intellectual side, that is regarding those people and the foreigners, yes, there were reports of the meetings. I did not participate in such a meeting.
Et lorsqu'il s'agissait de
Question. And when the meetings were attended by both intellectuals and the peasantry, meetings chaired by Ieng Sary, were any minutes of such meetings prepared?
Response. There was no meeting of a mixture of the intellectuals and peasants.
Monsieur le Président, je voudrais maintenant
Mr. President, I'd like to show a new document, E3/857. It's also ES 18.49. In English, it's called Working with the Communists of Every Unit, 12 September 1977. There's a Khmer version from ERN 000867007 to 000867113. In English, 003554 87 294, and as yet we do not have a French translation of the document. So with your leave, Mr. President, I would like to have that document displayed.
The President, yes, you may proceed.
Et bien sûr, je laisserai quelques instants
And I will leave the witness the necessary time to have a look and leaf through that document.
Alors, je voudrais poser une première question.
I'd just like to ask the witness the first question. Have you seen this report? Are you familiar with this kind of document?
Response. I cannot even remember my personal documents. How could I can remember others' documents? It's been almost 40 years.
Peut-être pour vous aider,
Perhaps with the Chamber's authorization and with a review to refreshing your memory, we can pick up on one or two points in the document which do suggest that it is a document from B1. If the Chamber agrees, I'll read the one or two references that do talk about sections of B1 and of the office.
President, Defense Counsel, Michael Canavas, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the past, the procedure has been to show the document to the witness and then to ask him if he has seen the witness before. That's the end. Of course, there was a compound question from the prosecution. I didn't object, but it would appear that it's unclear whether the witness has seen this document before. He's indicated he can't remember. But if he hasn't seen this document before, then it seems to me that at that point the document has to be withdrawn from the witness, but contents from the document may be used to question the witness. That was my understanding of the ruling, unless the ruling has shifted, or I misunderstood the ruling, which is a very likely possibility.
President, thank you, Defense Counsel. The prosecution, could you adhere to our practical guideline and the practice we've been doing through the witnesses before the chamber, in particular with those documents that are intended to be put before the chamber? You need to question the witness whether the witness knows or have seen that document that you wish to rely in your questioning. Otherwise, the chamber will request you to remove or withdraw that document.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. In that case, I will content myself with some general questions about the contents, without singling out individual pages of the document. So I think that the document is valid in that case.
President, court officer, can you withdraw the document from the witness? And also the assistant, please also remove that document from the screen.
Je voudrais simplement demander.
I'd simply like to ask our witness for some information about meetings, internal meetings. Yesterday, you said that the subject of some of these meetings was enemies, building the country and defending the country. Were there meetings that you attended which concerned infiltration of enemies within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Response. Thank you. Regarding the meetings, I have my personal view of my patriotism toward my nation and my country. I saw documents, those documents that I liked, and personally, I also have to invent myself so that I can convince the patients to understand what patriotism means. For instance, I have to create a story for them to understand, to make them happy and understand at the same time, so that they understand the meaning. For instance, in the current situation, I do not want to create a story whereby a dark buffalo and a brown buffalo were in conflict due to the incitement by a rabbit.
J'entends votre réflexion.
I've heard your point, Mr. Witness, but can we come back to the original question, which was to know whether there were meetings on the subject of enemy infiltration within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and on the fact that it therefore was necessary to remain vigilant.
Response. Of course. And not only the infiltration existed within the ministry, but the infiltration existed at nationwide.
Qui étaient ces ennemis?
Who were the enemies who were trying to infiltrate inside the party ranks, countrywide and in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? What kind of enemy are we talking about?
Response. It is rather difficult for me to explain to you. However, I can make a general remark. The main enemy was the enemy who intends to destroy the world. And they are the ones who actually destroy the environment, that is the land, the soil, the wind and the fire. This morning I touched upon briefly the issue that we all tend to forget about the case 000, and we only now working on case 001 and 002. President, Mr. Witness, please compose yourself in order to respond to the question put to you by the prosecution. You need to listen carefully to the question and respond directly to that question. This is also in order to expedite the proceeding so you can return to your residence as soon as it concludes.
Je n'ai pas bien saisi,
Mr. Witness, I didn't really understand what you meant by the person wishing to destroy the world and the environment. Can you please be more precise and tell me who the enemies infiltrated in the interior could be, and how indeed could they be discovered?
Response. Regarding the destruction of the world, I cannot explain to you here. If I were to do so, it would likely take me 1 month. As for the monitoring of the enemy, I am not a technician or an expert in this area. I just worked on my psychological issue to make myself pure first, so that once I am pure, then I could see the enemy from the outside. For myself, I did not have any duty or responsibility in any of the arrest. Neither I was a spy.
សូមតំណាងសហប្រញ្ញារៀបចំនៅសំណួរឲ្យបានខ្លី
President, Mr. Witness, please make your response precise and short, and if possible, please refer to a specific period. When you refer to the enemy infiltration on the prosecution part, you need to also specify the period and whether the witness knows about that during the time that he went through the regime. The chamber already reminded the parties last week that you have to try to make your questions simple, precise, and easy to understand, so that the witness can understand it and can respond to the question. This is for the benefit of ascertaining the truth. It is not important that your questions have to be complicated that the witness cannot understand. There is no use in that sense, and it's not going to shed any light on what we are trying to seek in this chamber.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I was talking about the period where you were present in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and when there were meetings where the main subject was infiltration by enemies at country scale and within the ministry. Now, can you tell us, you told us once one reached purity, one could identify enemies who are coming from outside, but I still don't understand what sort of enemies we are talking about. When we're talking about enemies that infiltrate, are you meaning spies?
Response: I cannot reply to this question.
J'ai eu comme traduction, je ne peux répondre à ça.
Well, I heard in my headphones, I cannot reply to this question. Does that actually mean that you don't know what the answer is, or that you do not wish to reply? It was a little ambiguous in what I heard. Could you please enlighten me?
Response: because I'm not a technical expert in spying or something of a similar nature, I only worked on the psychological issues for the people there.
Avez-vous jamais assisté, Monsieur le témoin, à des...
Mr. Witness, did you ever attend meetings where the subject of knowing how many cadres or combatants within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were pure or were good was on the agenda, and the proportion that were not and were in fact suspect? Did you ever attend this kind of meeting where this sort of issue was aired?
Response: no, I did not.
Lorsque vous avez dit que...
When you said that the enemy had infiltrated, Was there discussion in meetings about infiltration by the CIA or the KGB or Vietnamese agents?
Response. I did not understand clearly regarding these forms of the enemy infiltration. I only heard from others. I was not really clear on what KGB or CIA meant. I only concentrated on doing a good work, because if I could not engage in a good work, then I would have to refashion myself.
Que signifiait ce...
Mr. Witness, what is the significance for you of the term revolutionary vigilance and remaining vigilant? What does this mean for you? What did it mean at the time?
The phrase revolutionary vigilant is that we try not to have anybody sit on our head or ride on our head, and also that we do not take that advantage by riding on somebody else's head.
Merci, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you. Mr. President, I have a voluminous document to put before the witness, and I don't know if this is the right time to do it before we close for the day. If you prefer I do it straight away, it will be necessary to have a few explanations, because there are significant discrepancies between the English, French and Khmer versions. And it'll probably take me 5 minutes to explain to all of the parties here which is the best version to use.
The President, yes, you can proceed.
Alors, il s'agit du document...
It's document E3/522. It has another E3 number, stroke 926. And also D267/5/1.1.25. And this document, D267/5.1.1.25, is the original in Khmer. All of the pages are complete and in the right order, and on the basis of that document, a translation in English was done, which is also complete. On the other hand, on the case file in French, there is document E3/925, which is also under IS 14.1. It's a Khmer version of the second document. It's the same document that I have mentioned a moment ago, on the basis of which an English translation was done, but the problem with IS 14.1 is that an enormous number of pages have been muddled up. There are duplications and other pages that are missing, and the French translation was done on the basis of this second version I have mentioned. So it's important that you understand that you won't find a full and complete text of the document in the French translation, which is why I will try and refer to the English version as well. Having given you that explanation, Mr. President, I'd like to look at D267/5/1.1/25, and it's a long document of 150 to 200 pages. I would like the witness to be acquainted with it too.
The President, could you please hold the prosecution? Defense Counsel Michael Canavas, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would suggest, and I submit, that the same procedures should be used with this document as was used with the previous one. To show it to the witness, ask him whether he recognizes it, whether he has seen it before. If not, then there's no need to go through all of this exercise on page numbers, different translations, and what have you. The same procedure of questioning should occur. Thank you.
The President, Judge Lavange, you may proceed.
Thank you. Before putting the document to the witness, we could perhaps ask him about a notebook that he himself said that he kept. I don't know exactly in what shape or form that notebook is now, and it might be a good idea to ask him that question at this stage.
Très bien, Monsieur le Juge.
Very well, Your Honour. You have referred to notes that you took in a notebook. Do you remember anything about this notebook, in particular what there was on the first page of the notebook?
Response, I'm sorry, but I'm in the dark here. I do not understand your question at all.
Il y a quelques minutes.
A few minutes ago, you said that you had taken notes. I think you said it in connection with espionage, that you took notes at the time, at the Democratic Kampuchea era, and you had a notebook therefore, and apparently now you have lost it. I'm just wondering if you could now tell us what this notebook looked like, what the format was, what was written on the first page, and what the book looked like inside.
The notebook. I may slip my mouth when I talk about the notebook. It was actually a piece of paper. If we hold the paper into two, we did not have any books at that time. But as I saw just now on the screen, there was a picture of a singer or a lion. So I do not know about that.
Désolé, Monsieur le Président, c'est la première page de la qui a été affichée avant que je pose la question.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but the opening page seems to have been on the screen before I asked the question, but I don't think that the description corresponds quite to the document that I'm intending to show him. May I now show him the document and so that I can ask him the question of whether he's seen it before?
The President Court Officer is instructed to take the document from the prosecution and provide the document to witness so that he could examine it.
សូមអញ្ជើញតំណាង
The President. I know Defense Counsel Mr. Kilsampon is on his feet. You may proceed, Counsel. Counsel, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make an observation concerning this document. This document is large. I'm not sure how witness is going to examine this document. Is he going to read the entire document? Perhaps Mr. Co-Prosecutor can be asked whether he would like the witness to examine a particular portion of that document instead.
បាទអរគុណដើម្បី
The President. Thank you. To clarify the matters, can the prosecutor proceed with asking the witness whether he has ever seen this document before?
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Witness, have you ever seen the document before you previously? I know you have not had time to read it. Perhaps you could just run through it.
បាទ
As I have read the headings of this document, I can say that I do not know about it.
Monsieur le Président, je demanderai à
Mr. President, I would like the witness to read more than the title, which has nothing to do with the contents. And I would also like to ask the witness whether this document was shown to him by the co-investigating investigators during the investigations.
អត់មានបានទេ
No, I never saw this document.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, I am obliged to refer to certain records of interviews in which certain questions were put to the witness with specific reference to this document, D267/5/1.1. And I would say that it was the case in D369/36, question 52, 61, and 67 at least. In another record of an interview, D233/9, it appears that questions 1, 2, and 3 also on a document that was also shown, and the co-investigating judges did not indicate the exact reference. In any case, in D269/26, it was indicated that this document was used to put questions to the witness. And so I would like to rephrase the question and put it to the witness again whether that document was shown to him on that occasion.
សូមអញ្ជើញតំណាងថាលោកមេធាវី
The President, yes, you may proceed, Counsel for Mr. Ingsari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps counsel could point out where, whenever it was shown to him by the court investigative judges, the gentleman indicated that he recognized either the document or the writing, or whose writing the document was. Because the question then, because I think if we're going to be using the document to show that he was familiar with the document, then he needs to state clearly that he recognizes the document and how he recognizes it. If, on the other hand, as the court has ruled in the past, that you can go into contents within the document in posing questions, then nothing prevents counsel from doing so. But from the references that he's provided thus far, at least I'm unable to see where the gentleman, the witness that is, has indicated that he recognizes the handwriting or that he has seen the document back then, prior to it being shown to him by the OCIJ. Now, perhaps I missed it somewhere.
The President, it appears that the situation before us is different from what the Chamber has decided before. This document was referred to by the co-investigators during the investigation phase. In our usual practice, we have never done this before. That is why we are trying to ensure whether the witness has seen these documents previously. As claimed by the International Co-Prosecutor, the witness has at least been shown during the investigation phase. That is mentions in document D369/36. So the Chamber is interested to know whether it may be a mistake made by the witness, or it is because he forgot about it. And the fact that he forgot about it, is it because he never saw it before, or he saw it before? So again, the situation we are dealing with this is something different from what we have done before this court. Now the Chamber permits that the co-prosecutor can proceed with showing these documents to witness.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know it is past 4 p.m. My questions will be very long, and I would like to know whether we should adjourn now, or I should start putting my questions to the witness on the contents of this document.
The President, the Chamber just now allows you to ask questions to this witness whether he has seen this document or not, as you has referred to the questions in document D369/36, because you has just referred to a question in which document D2675/1.1.25 was referred to. After that, we will be able to continue with other questions tomorrow.
Oui, Monsieur le témoin, est-ce que vous pouvez alors...
Question. Yes, witness. Can you tell us whether this document, or probably parts or pages in it, were shown you by the investigators with a view to having you express your thoughts or remarks as to the contents of the document?
I do not know about this document, but I haven't yet examined it thoroughly. I haven't read thoroughly this document, so I determined that I have never seen this document before, as I haven't read this document. So I do not accept this document.
សូមបញ្ជាក់បន្តិច
Allow me to indicate a bit further that it appears on the first look that this document talks about the meetings during that regime, but I do not know who wrote this document, but I can conclude that this is not my document.
ឥឡូវនេះដោះស្រាយបញ្ហានេះដូចនេះ
The President, let we deal with this issue as follows. The prosecutor has put forward that this document was shown to witness during the investigation phase by referring to document D369/36. In other words, this document has been shown to you, witness, during your interview with the investigator. This document is now put before you. You are not being questioned for the entire content of the document. Only part of the document is being questioned before you. This is the reason why the prosecutor is raising questions to you on the basis of your answers to the co-investigating judges. Now, to be precise, the chamber will allow you, or will give you some time for you to examine the document, and after your examination, we will continue discussing about this document. Especially, we want to know whether you were shown the document by the investigator during the investigation phase. That is, in the records of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the document D2675/1.1.25 and EIN 00427826. But this is an example, and the point is that you were shown or not this document to you, and you did say in this document that you recognize it. So you are requested to come to the court tomorrow morning before we begin, so that we have some time for you to examine the documents tomorrow morning. Can it be possible? Thank you. Because it is now over time for us to adjourn. The chamber will adjourn for today's proceedings, and we will continue tomorrow morning. And because of the importance of questioning witness Salot Ban, Mr. Witness, you are invited to come to the court again tomorrow. And because you are supposed to examine this document before we begin our proceedings tomorrow, you should arrive before we begin, before 9 o'clock, in other words. Duty Council is also invited to come again tomorrow. Court officer is instructed to facilitate and assist the witness regarding the examination of documents and to bring him back before 9 o'clock tomorrow. Security guards are now instructed to bring the accused persons back to the detention facilities. The court is now adjourned. All rise.